Trump calls out the squad, frames the election as capitalism versus socialism. Will he win a second term? Welcome back into Liberty Nation Radio, a production of LibertyNation.com, and heard from coast to coast on the Radio America Network. President Trump jumps into the growing civil war in the Democratic Party, with some saying it's a mistake because he should leave them alone while they're destroying themselves, while others say it will successfully define the Democrats as a party of the far left. We will analyze the ever more bitter battle over the growing radicalism of the Democratic Party and offer a fearless prediction about the 2020 presidential election. Plus, the threat posed by social media giants, Facebook, Twitter, Google, YouTube, and the rest. Are they committed to censoring conservative speech? The nation's preeminent media watchdog, Brent Bozell of the Media Research Center, will join us to sound the alarm. Plus, Talkin' Liberty with LibertyNation.com's resident constitutional lawyer, Scott Cosenza.
Say what? Say what? Say what? One more time.
We commence the proceedings with our signature segment, Say What?, as we roll out an assembly line of wacky, astonishing, damnable, and ultimately revealing things uttered by politicians and the chattering class. First, it was the unexpected election of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the other radical leftists in the Democratic Party in 2018. Then it was AOC and her squad of progressive young women defining a radical agenda, now given voice in the Democrats' presidential field. Then it was Democratic Party leader Nancy Pelosi, fearing the disastrous new branding of her party, slapping down the squad. Then it was AOC and company saying they were singled out by Pelosi as women of color and calling the non-progressives in their party the equivalent of 1940s segregationists. Phew. And that was all last week. This week, the 45th president, as is his wont, simply couldn't stay on the sidelines any longer. He weighed in with his own view of AOC and her progressive cohorts, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, and Ayanna Pressley. First, in a tweet saying the people who hate this country can go back to where they came from, even though three of them were actually born in the USA, and then laid it on when he was asked about it after a speech.
If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, if you hate our country, if you're not happy here, you can leave. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way. If you're complaining all the time, very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. Come back if you want. Don't come back. It's okay, too.
But if you think that was provocative, listen to GOP Senator Lindsey Graham drop the C-bomb on Fox News.
We all know that AOC and this crowd are a bunch of communists. They hate Israel. They hate our own country. They're calling the guards along our border, the Border Patrol agents, concentration camp guards. They accuse people who support Israel of doing it for the Benjamins. They're anti-Semitic. They're anti-America. Don't get down. Aim higher. We don't need to know anything about them personally. Talk about their policies.
So what about their policies? Are they communists? Policies like the Green New Deal, which would certainly bankrupt the country, or Medicare for All, which would probably bankrupt the country. But listen to the most radical member of the squad, Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, discuss her extreme views on identity politics.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
You are not an individual. You're a member of a group. If that's not enough to scare you, that kind of Marxist ideology in the halls of Congress, then look at how much of it is being spewed in the Democrats' presidential campaign by most all of the candidates. Now, think about that kind of Marxist ideology in the White House. As Trump ramps up his efforts to deport convicted criminal aliens with raids that began several days ago, ground zero in the increasingly bitter battle of revivalists and resistors right now is on the southern border, where the Customs and Border Patrol are being overrun with asylum seekers and families are being separated as their asylum claims are being adjudicated. And it's hard to be encouraged when we witness the kind of exchanges we heard recently in congressional hearings, like when virtue-signaling leftist Congressman Chut Gonzalez of Illinois made scurrilous accusations against ICE Director Thomas Homan, who returned fire in spades.
Mr. Homan, do you understand that the consequences of separation of many children will be lifelong trauma? Do you not care? Is it because these children don't look like children that are around you?
Oh, your comments are disgusting. What I've been trying to do my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed.
And so both sides are dug in on what's become a deeply personal fight, as it has been on the presidential campaign trail. Joe Biden remains in the lead, perhaps almost by default, and this week he burnished his centrist credentials by releasing an ad emphasizing something he said in the first round of debates, that he will defend Obamacare from anyone in either party who wants to repeal it or replace it with a strictly government-run program like Medicare for All.
I believe we have to protect and build on Obamacare. That's why I proposed adding a public option to Obamacare as the best way to lower costs and cover everyone. I understand the appeal of Medicare for All, but folks supporting it should be clear that it means getting rid of Obamacare. And I'm not for that. I knew the Republicans would do everything in their power to repeal Obamacare. They still are. But I'm surprised that so many Democrats are running on getting rid of it. The Affordable Care Act was a historic achievement for President Obama. And if I'm elected president, I'm going to do everything in my power to protect it and build on it.
So, like everything else, Biden looks backward rather than forward. And he continues to appear at least a step slow on the campaign trail. Here's a compilation of 10 stumbles and bumbles from a single recent speech by the former vice president.
Donald Trump and the demagogues around the world are leaning into these forces over fascism and autocracy. We believe in free speech. That's why I'll end the gag rule, the global gag rule that prevents money. We have to be honest about, we've neglected the basics by strengthening. Folks, we're virtually energy independent. He has, I don't know how to say it. Then partnerships built on coercion to take on non-traditional threats like weaponized corruption. They'll reduce emissions.
Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know who's on third. Quick break, and then a fearless and logic-based prediction about the 2020 presidential election.
Where can you find honest political commentary with sobering analysis, accountability, deconstructing threats to our liberty, and boldly reporting the truth? Subscribe to LibertyNation.com YouTube channel, where facts matter.